right. Want to welcome to LabStream's AI podcast. We have Ken Park, the Chief Marketing Officer of ION Digital Corp, joining us today. Mr. Park brings 25 years of digital media strategy experience from consumer brands such as Adobe, Aegon, and Atlantic Records. He's an evangelist for emerging technologies with deep understanding of how digital media and engagement is used to strengthen brands and create one-to-one customer relationships. Mr. Park was a key strategist behind HyperCD, a patented technology driving full encryption and video over any internet speed, and served up as MarTech solutions for giants like Supermicro. Even had a stint in skateboarding as a pro, and with success rubbing shoulders with the likes of Tony Hawk here in San Diego, and he graduated from San Diego State. Ken's up-and-coming books about to hit the shelves soon, entitled Entrepreneurial Marketing, Real Stories and Survival Strategies, is featured along with the infamous Guy Kawasaki. So he's a regular guest speaker at Pepperdine University's Executive MBA program. We're happy to have him here. Let's give him a warm welcome. And how are you, Ken? Can you share a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture at ION Digital Corp?
Oh, yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and I appreciate the offer. There's just so many exciting things going on right now that are connected to Ion. But Ion started as a concept that at a time that nobody was talking about. How could we take real world assets like gold and turn them into a stable token or a stable coin kind of offering in the marketplace. And luckily, our CEO, Carlos X Montoya, is a very successful banker, and with multiple years of running multi-billion-dollar banks. And he saw this as an opportunity to kind of change the financial world, and he shared that vision with me. And I got to tell you, I sipped the Kool-Aid, I gulped the Kool-Aid, and then I started making some Kool-Aid, that kind of thing. So it's just I bought all in. I've been, as you mentioned, really all of the connective tissue of what you just talked about, with the exception of skateboarding, but even there a little bit was kind of a solution marketing technology reality. So I always was a marketer. I was in marketing, and it was always about reaching out to audiences. And so you talked about HyperCD, and HyperCD at a time that there was no such thing as online video because the bandwidth wouldn't support it. We would use a disk, but you could only see, we'd lock the video file down. So the only point of playback that you could see it at was a website. So that was using technology to create this kind of streaming reality that we live in now. And I've always been a passionate supporter for what the web was going to be in its own right when it came to the distribution of content. What we're doing right now is just a perfect example. And I've just always loved that idea. Especially coming from an independent sport. And then I went into the music industry on an indie music level. And then I was in the film industry on an indie film level. So I think that the idea of empowering these kind of micro channels, these micro audiences, as a viable business model has always been a passion point. And it led me to become pretty good at talking about tech from just a layman's perspective, which allowed me to market technology very well. And from that, I just started having these incredible opportunities to work with leaders. Like, I was at Supermicro when I could see this thing that was going to eventually, we didn't use the term, but, quantum computing, they were working on the technology. It was clear that that's the pathway that they're going down. And it's just exciting to be a part of an organization that's, forging that new ground. And so then when I fell into the blockchain and all that could accomplish, at the early stages, everyone just wanted to be in blockchain to be in blockchain, which reminded me of the web when it first launched. It's like, I want a website. Why? I don't know. I just want a website. Blockchain was kind of like that, but now blockchain is actually facilitating things. Web3 is creating new opportunities, and the decentralization of data, the decentralization, the DeFi kind of experience, et cetera. So there's just a lot of exciting evolution and revolution that's taking place as a part of, technology and what technology is allowing. I mean, we're in the midst of AI, and that's going to change the game. So being someone that loved that kind of that evolution is part of what drives me.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm actually fascinated. The timing was uncanny because I was looking into buying gold. And it's kind of funny. I'm like, oh, should I buy gold? That's a great thing to get into. And how do you monetize that, but at the same time leverage security on the blockchain and validation and verification? So what does a typical day look like as a chief marketing officer of the future, really, of gold buying?
That's a great question, and it's kind of evolved. But to your point, what I've always just fallen in love with is the simplest version of our story is that you can take gold in the ground, not rip the earth apart, right? Not destroy all of the surrounding environment to get this incredibly valuable storage of wealth, right, out of the ground. But what if we could just leave it there, leave it in the world's most powerful vault, which is Mother Earth? Let Mother Earth take care of the gold, do a good job of accounting for it, and then monetize it or turn it into a liquid asset that could be used to generate investment and generate opportunity and bring about the next evolution of technology. And that was the simple vision at the beginning. And I just fell in love with how simple that was. It was just such a great way to like make gold investment approachable for the masses because right in the past you always heard about the richest of the rich owning their own gold or owning their own gold mines, but you never kind of
Mm-hmm.
truly understood it. Now all of a sudden, when you start to see, stable coins and stable tokens and cryptocurrencies, you start to realize that you can fractionalize things down to the smallest unit. So I can be as aggressive as a gold buyer, maybe not on the same volume as you are, and it gives me a chance to get into an industry that the gold industry has just been a stable growth area for so long, especially with what's going on with all the different currencies, and the fluctuations that are going on with all of the crypto products. So a stable token built on gold, I mean, what could be more, kind of risk averse than that, and yet still be cutting edge and fun, so.
Absolutely. I know. I love the fact that you can make it available to the common person. Most people can't even access commodities and futures and these type of things because their net worth isn't qualified to access these markets. So I think that's really fascinating. I think leads me kind of into my next question is what major shifts are you seeing in the industry now? I mean, you're kind of living and breathing them, but things that are at the forefront of your mind that you're seeing.
Well, I think one of them, which was the topic of today's discussion on a UX user experience level, is that I think that for a long time only the techiest of the tech could truly understand what was going on in this decentralized world, in this DeFi world, in this Web3 world. And I think what's happened is just like every product category I've been lucky enough to be a part of in my career, I think how it's presented makes it approachable. So when you say user experience, it's not just the graphical, UI that makes it approachable. It's the whole kind of gamification. And really, if you look at the growth of investment, and some may say that and it's had its negative impacts, but investing has now become so accessible to everybody that it changes the nature of what we're doing, and we're betting on different things that are trends, and companies that are supporting our lifestyle choices and companies that support a worldview and all these things. And I think that's very exciting because that democratization of investment, and then you take it to the next level, to your point, commodities. Commodities are something you used to hear about. I was a finance major at San Diego State, and you talk about commodities, and it was always like risk and fear, and you can lose it all overnight. And it's now everybody can kind of say, no, gold is important, or you go down the list of all the different rare earth minerals that are important. You can start really identifying the things that drive areas in the marketplace that you believe in. And I've always been a passion marketer. I've always believed on telling organic stories, authentic stories, being real, earning the trust of your audience. And the only way you can do that is to share knowledge and share insight and share passion, so that people see that this is not just a get rich quick scheme. This is something where it's like, no, you can actually change the entire nature of what the financial services industry looks like and how it operates. And that is a pretty rewarding, kind of opportunity to be a part of.
Absolutely. I think you touched on it right on the gamification side and the user experience on how people interact with those assets. How do you see that trend impacting your business or growth strategy?
Well, I'll use a very practical example is that, so when ION started, this is now going on our seventh year, fifth year or something, there was actually an entity before it But when it became its own, I created the website, my team created the website, and it kind of stayed the same for a while, right? Because, I don't believe in change for change's sake. I believe there are so many iterations and changes going on in the marketplace that we were telling the basic story. And it seems like, sometimes people get so enamored by telling the story with the rockets and the and the whistles and all of the glitz and glamour, but they lose the authenticity of the simple story. And so my approach was to leave the site as is, but I got a lot of pressure, and appropriately so, to change and evolve the website because the story was changing and the market was changing, and the people that were interested in our company were changing. So we then redeveloped the website, and just that shift in user experience changes how your message is being received, to whom it's being received, what you're asking of them in return for your expertise and your security and your peace of mind. So I think that's what's happening in the financial industry, is that these products that were driven by financial kind of goals and performance metrics had to also realize that they're a part of a consumer culture. They're part of a consumer, kind of desire to make it easy. Make this easy for me to understand so I can just, hit a couple of buttons and do the things I want to do with my dollars and investments. And I think that as the user experience changes, all of a sudden everybody is introduced to concepts that they had never had access to before, so that gets people excited about what's going to really make an impact. And that's why this whole concept of leaving gold in the ground and not having to mine it is both a financial reality, because you don't have to spend that money to mine it, just to hold it and leverage it, right? But also it's a environmental concern too, because we don't have to ruin the very essence of what Mother Earth is all about, to take its best, storage of value features like gold and make those accessible to others. So with change comes more change, and that change then kind of opens up the eyes and introduces products to new people. And that's what I've always been about in marketing. So for me, it's exciting because it's the audience you're trying to reach is changing on a daily basis, is the best way to
You
answer
know,
that.
you bring up a good point about you can have all the gold in the world, but if nobody knows how to get it, you're going to be stuck with it all. I always tell that to people. And so, what are you finding, in your journey, the customer journey with the user experience and navigating I call it the nurturing and the behavior to convert them, that engagement? What's working well for you right now? What's been frustrating? Any color you can share there would be great.
Well, I think, all of the trends that drive all of the product, kind of success in the marketplace. So if you can tell an illustrated story, whether it be through visuals or whether it be through, video, doing podcasts and talking, you know, even if you even if you listen to me and you don't necessarily understand everything I say, the passion and the authenticity, hopefully, that I'm presenting it with makes you say, wow, I want to look into that, right? And so I think my challenge has always been, as a marketer in general, but also as a tech marketer, my perspective has been, tell the story in an authentic way, and people will latch onto it. Find people that really believe in what they do. If you met Carlos, our CEO, he is so passionate about making the security components and the safety components and the transparency components like a bank. Like, he wants to create the next evolution of what banking is. And when he talks about it, you just sit there and go, wow, I'm not sure I understood all of the banking references he made or all of the financial instrumentation that he's presenting. But man, what I do understand is that he wants to bring it to others. He wants to bring it to the world. He wants to open this up. So banking isn't like a bunch of guys in suits that play golf most of their time, but instead banking becomes a mindset. How do I put away the assets that are to the greatest value to my long-term stability, but then leverage them in other ways so that I can continuously grow opportunity around me. And he's just incredibly motivating in how he tells that story. And my job is then to hear it, capture it and put it into as many formats as possible. And then the single most important part about, marketing in today's, kind of landscape is to listen. What is working? Like, just because I think it's going to work doesn't mean it's going to work. You got to measure the metrics. You got to do the read, and if you read what is happening in the marketplace, they'll tell you, do it this way, do it over here, use this channel. They'll give you all of those cues. So it's weird, you know. You look at a show like Mad Men, and I long for the days where not only did you have, like, 3 hour martini lunches, right, but you could just come up with a really cool idea, and that was the driver of success. Today, ideas are just the first part of it, like measuring it and using technology to understand the feedback, and then micro targeting and segmenting and all the things that go into great marketing strategies are about listening. They're about listening to the market. And yes, you have to start the dialogue with creativity, but then the market is going to tell you what's working. And by the way, what's not working. And if you don't respond to that, you're going to miss out.
Absolutely. And I think ideas are just that. Without execution, they're nothing. And I think you're spot on about Montoya Carlos's, passion, and that exudes from someone when they speak. And I think, people are like, wow, whatever he's talking about, I want to learn more. So you're really taking what he's saying in that vision and then streamlining it into tidbits, like consumable pieces that consumers, which your forte is the consumer reach, can digest. Tell me, what metrics are you focused on improving now? Is there anything you could share there on how that's really building in?
Well, as a public company, obviously the number one metric I have to be attentive to, because I also am a board member, so I sit on the board of directors, and so I have to be attentive to the investment community, making sure that we're making the message clear for them. Um, at the same time, I have this rebellious kind of indie spirit where I don't want to just, like, there's a lot of, even like I've been talking about influencer marketing in one way or another for the last 30 years of my life, right? But some of the influencer marketing now is so unauthentic and so disingenuous, right? I really still believe that there has to be some genuine knowledge and passion behind it. I mean, one of the things I love about Carlos, but there's a gentleman by the name of Matthew Harrowing that runs Instructi, one of our most important technology partners. And when you sit at dinner with Matt, you're going to have a discussion about technology, but get ready. You're also going to have a literary discussion. You're going to talk about music, and you're going to talk about art, and you're going to talk about humanity. And it's going to be equally passionate. And I know that you get what I'm saying, because we've all had those people in our life where you're like, how do you know so damn much about so many things, right?
Right? Right. And
And
it's the
those,
person.
yeah, those are the people that I find are the leaders in our industry right now. They're not, yes, they have a very, very granular focus on what's happening in technology, but when you sit with them, the depth of intellect and the passion for that intellect is, God, you could feed off of it. You could just sit there and feed off of it. And so what
I
I
can
try to
feed
do as a
off you.
marketer,
I feel you right
yeah,
now. I'm feeding
yeah,
off of you.
right.
I'm
See,
like, I'm
well,
just
then
coming
I'm
from
doing
the
a good
back.
job.
Yeah.
And I hope that I come across as someone that really believes what he's saying, because that's the difference in the market is, especially when you look at AI, that level of euphoria that comes from meeting someone that, God, they really, really love what they do, or they really believe in what they do. AI is going to have to work with that. They're not good and emotional. AI can create content, but the inflection and the enthusiasm and the passion, that's uniquely human. And I like working with people that have that. I love trying to capture the message of people that operate like that. To me, that's the joy of marketing, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I should have been a marketer. I became a computer guy. I did programming with all the nerds. And, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now more than ever. And it has
Oh,
nothing to
I can
do with what
tell.
my
I can tell.
background is.
Oh, it
Yeah.
comes through loud and clear, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one quick story about San Diego State is because I was going into San Diego State at a time when computer programming was 100% nerd, right? Like, and I loved it. I had just a little taste of it, and I loved it, but I completely backed off of it because I'm like, oh, what's the future there? I'm just going to be sitting behind a desk and just doing code all day. And I'm a skateboarder. I'm a thrill seeker. I like to go out and adrenaline rush. And so this is an adrenaline rush, right? But it is weird over time. I've come to realize that when I sit down and I start programming, because I do a lot of the web programming and all the things that are a part of what we do on the media side, I get that same thrill. I just never would have realized it when I was so young.
Well, you gave me chills up my arm when you were talking about skateboarding. I'm a thrill seeker too. I love snowboarding. I do jet skiing. I'm an extreme sports guy. I will not jump out of a plane now because I just had my first son, so I've got to just take it easy. You
Absolutely,
know
that changes
that
everything.
that, that changes everything. I can't jump out of the plane, but I'll definitely watch you do it. This is what it's about, and that's what AI is, I think, missing is the human interaction, and then bringing the total person to the package. Because at the end of the day, you do business with who you like, and I think the vision is key. I love how you accentuate Carlos and what he's doing, and I still don't get the breadth of where he's at, but I do love banking, and I know that you're in the right direction because gold's where it's heading. Everything's tracking that way. Stable coins are where it's at, and then so I guess I need to ask you, where do you want to be 6 to 12 months from now, given you're on the brink, I really think on the cusp of something that's about to really turn, and with the SEC and all these things, barriers coming down, where do you see yourself 6 to 12 months from now? Where do you want to be?
Well, I think that, thanks to the incredible partnerships and the incredible people that have been drawn to Ion and that we have been able to, kind of embrace through our efforts in the marketplace. And it's been listen, building a company is not easy. And anyone that says that it is wrong. It's just it takes a lot of
Absolutely.
stick-to-itiveness and just, perseverance. But given the people that we're now working with on a daily basis and the intellect with what they bring to the table, 6 to 12 months from now, I just want to be doing it at a level where you can tell more people and I can go out and I can tell this story and I can have that one-on-one or the one-on-1 million, but still feel like it's a one-on-one because I think gold and what gold represents is still such a foundational piece of just society and civilization, right? This idea of storing value, that I can exchange value. I can put it here and I can put it away or I can use it to go create new opportunities. To me, as long as we're creating those new opportunities, we're meeting those new companies and we're living up to their expectations, that's where I want to be. I just want to feel satisfied that, you know, um, we brought it to as many people as possible. That's what it comes down to.
I love that. From a true marketer, it's all about propagate and populate and get it out there to as many
100%.
people as you can. Oh, I love that. From an engineering perspective, we're the same. We always want people to use our code, our software. We're not really caring about the money. We just want people to use it. If there's one thing one major challenge today that you could solve, what would that be in your space?
Well, I think I'm going to use MySpace as a very broad term. I think that I've never seen the fear that I've seen before with AI. And I think that's what I would change because I think technology has always had a sense of fear. And if you're a good marketer or a good storyteller, you use the fear and then you make it approachable and you make it feel comfortable. And that's a very effective sales approach. I think, in the marketplace right now, everything's moving so rapidly and there's so much fear and kind of sensationalism injected into it. I love the feeling of when you introduce a piece of technology to someone and it applies to their daily routine and it changes how they operate in their life. To me, that's so satisfying from a both an engineer standpoint, but also a marketer standpoint, because all of a sudden they're using something that they might have been scared of before, but they're doing something better than they did before as well. So I think that if I could change anything, I think it's the way in which we tell the story of technology. I think there's way too much, desire to hit it quick and get rich and then bail out. You look at the people that inspire you. I'm a huge, and even though he was, I hope I can say this on the podcast, but he was known to be a complete asshole. One of my true idols was Steve Jobs. You know what I mean? Because like, if you talk to people that worked with him and for him, they would equally say he's an asshole, but man, he was a genius. He was brilliant. His vision
Because he
and his,
stuck to the path. He
and
stuck
it's
to the
like,
path, and
shouldn't we all be
yeah.
doing that? That is the skateboarder in me, is that it's not just the terrain, it's what you do with the terrain that matters. And
I
that's
love that
kind of,
about you.
yeah,
Your maverick mentality, and that indie type look, and I call it, as Steve puts it, distortion reality. I know his book is talking
yeah,
about how he
yeah.
makes the impossible possible because you can make it happen if you know it can happen, and
He
somehow you'll
makes
get
it
there.
he makes it possible and then he makes it approachable. I mean, if you think about what he did with technology, just the next tomorrow, walk around the world, go out into your neighborhood and just his technology. He was one of the pivotal people to bring it to the world, right? Just looking at your phone and checking everything, it's almost obsessive, right? And to the point where it's a little dangerous because I still believe in the one-to-one. I'm still old school like that. I still love one-to-one face-to-face dialogue. I think it's the difference between knowing you're dealing with someone of quality versus not. But what you can do now and the discussions you can have around the world, equally compelling.
Absolutely. And I think if you can neutralize those fears and overcome those obstacles so people can embrace the change and the vision, uh, you know, as we're approaching the end of our podcast, can you tell our listeners, where they can find you when your book is available, where you can be found online? That'd be great if you can share that.
100%. Well, unfortunately, the book was written a while back, so it's been out there for a while, and it was more of a textbook. I was just featured in it, and I was proud to be so. So it's not really my
Yeah,
book. I was just kind
rightfully
of a
so
focal
with Guy
point.
Kawasaki.
Yeah, but like, it was done by a guy by the name of Bruce Buskirk, who was in Pepperdine at the time, and he wrote this book about people that were just thinking out of the box when it came to marketing. And I was super, like blown away to even be focused on it. But as far as Ion
It's
goes,
awesome.
iondigitalcorp.com is the URL. Our ticker symbol is IONI, and you can find us on any of the OTC QB relative financial platforms. You can they have to be OTC. Obviously, our aspirations in the next 6 to 12 months is to get onto NASDAQ. And I think we have a story and we have a product and a platform that's going to do that. But that's what we're shooting for. We're trying to get to that next level. So, iondigitalcorp.com, go check it out. Call us, email us. We'd love to talk about, what we can do, especially for those that are in the gold space looking to turn something that they have in the ground into something that's active and liquid and a part of the marketplace. That's what we do.
I love that. Hopefully, we'll talk again. You're ringing the bell at NASDAQ. I want to thank everyone for joining us at Livestream AI today. Ends our podcast. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
My pleasure.